You may be familiar with the movie Taken or have heard the term human trafficking used before. This crime does not receive any positive connotation when mentioned because it has harmed and destroyed thousands of lives across the world. It occurs more often than is realized and little awareness is brought to it. However, the concept can be understood as well as its severity when it comes to the well-being and safety of people. In the end, I hope to inform you all about the dangers of human trafficking as an epidemic and how it can be brought to greater awareness. To begin, you may be wondering, what exactly is human trafficking? According to the writers of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, human trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of people through force, fraud, or deception, with the aim of exploiting them for profit. To lure their victims in, they would use physical and sexual abuse, blackmail, emotional manipulation, and the removal of office documents. While human trafficking is the broader concept, it can be broken down into three common types: sex trafficking, forced labor, and debt bondage. To put this concept into a better perspective, take this example into consideration. A family gives a child up for adoption, but then the child is then sold into forced labor with no education, no pay, and little nutrition. Another example could be a woman who is kidnapped and forced into prostitution. In both situations, the victims are held against their will to be utilized by their captors for their greedy, selfish desires, not caring about the well-being of their victims. Now, you may be wondering, how large of an issue is human trafficking and who all are affected by it? Andriana Moskovska of the High Court has provided many recent statistics, including those of the United States and other countries around the world. Focusing first on the U.S., it is stated that in 2019, 62% of victims were identified as sex trafficking victims. As Moskovska breaks it down further, she states 62% of the victims were U.S. citizens or permanent residents, and 35% were foreign nationals. Switching perspective to another country, France, it has been reported that 74% of exploited victims were victims of sex trafficking in 2018. Finally, international organizations estimated 93% of child labor in Bangladesh, including forced child labor, is in the informal sector, according to Moskovska. In all these numbers, it is visible that human trafficking is a global problem. To further dive into the topic, who are most likely affected? The captors typically look for those who are most vulnerable, such as those who recently migrated or relocated, use substances, have mental health concerns, are involved with the child welfare system, and are runaway or homeless youths, as noted by the writers of Polaris Project. Majority of these victims are women and girls, who account for 71% of human trafficking victims, and others who are boys and men, who are only 9% of the victims. The numbers and statistics are self-explanatory when showing how much of a problem and danger to society human trafficking is. These acts of violence and exploitation have damaged victims beyond repair, breaking them down emotionally, physically, and psychologically. In the words of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the trauma caused by the traffickers can be so great that many may not identify themselves as victims or ask for help. To avoid the numbers increasing, there are ways to help prevent human trafficking from becoming more common. According to writers of Deliver Fund, the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act made it easier to prosecute and sentence traffickers and provided resources to do so in 2000. Additionally, safe harbor laws have also been enacted to provide victims so that they will not be prosecuted for prostitution or other crimes they have committed while in slavery. It should also be known there is a national human trafficking hotline available to anyone in many, many different languages. Meltzer of Ataxics advises people to protect and educate themselves and take prevention measures so that you aren't victimized. Overall, staying well informed and taking safety precautions help to keep oneself safe from these types of situations. To conclude this discussion, human trafficking is an awful and exploitive crime which has taken lives and stability out of millions of people. It occurs globally and can find victim of any person no matter their age, nationality, gender, religion, or more. Moreover, it is crucial to keep yourself safe to avoid such tragedies and outcomes. While it is very rare for these numbers to drop to zero, it would be outstanding and impressive if their prevalence could notice a great decline. Thank you.